Hey Jordan, let's get a selfie, man. Come here.
I'm good.
Welcome back, DP Review TV viewers. Chris Nichols here, and today we are playing with the brand new Sony A7C. This is going to be our first impressions video. Now, I do want to mention we did do a embargo release video, and that talked a lot about the technical specs, but we didn't get our hands on the camera yet. So today, I want to focus less on specs and a lot more on just how it feels, how it handles the shooting experience. But you know what? I'm just going to bring it back down a couple notches here, because the fact of the matter is, first off, as you can see today, it's just the grayest, flattest, saddest light that we've had here in Calgary in a long time. And the world is both literally and figuratively on fire right now. And people have never been more divided. There's pandemic ravaging us continually. And so, you know, on that very somber note, I feel like today's sample galleries, I'm just gonna try for just, oh, Jordan, I don't know if I'm gonna be doing that. It's just so depressing. I don't know. It's a nice camera. I'm sure we're gonna have a really nice time with the camera. Calgary's parking rates, $4.50 an hour. Oh, this world is coming to. I'm gonna call this one 3 gray stones and a lonely pole. Sharp! Even the flowers are losing their color. Look at all of you. Droopy black-eyed Susans vainly clinging to life. Do you even know that winter's icy cold chill is coming to kill you all? Look at that. An adorable blue Vespa. That'll cheer anybody up. So we're on an upswing now. Thanks, Vespa. When we first heard about the A7C, we knew that it was going to have a full frame kind of body, but in a A6000-esque style design. And we were kind of worried because although it'd be great to get a camera that small, we never found those older 6000 series bodies that comfortable to hold. But when you get your hands on this, it's actually quite nice. It's just a larger sized A6000 body. The grip is comfortable, it's substantial for sure. Actually reminds us a lot of the Panasonic GX series in the way it feels and the weight that it has. I like the way the AF on button falls right naturally underneath my thumb. And I also really like that they were able to fit a fully articulating LCD screen on a camera this small. For me, that's a big plus. But I do have a problem with the dials, okay? And this is the same with any camera of this design where my thumb has to do everything. I've got a back dial here up top, I've got another rear dial here on the back of the camera, and on this particular model, I also now have an exposure comp at the top right. I mean, these are all nice things, but look at this grip. It's got plenty of space right on the ridge here for a front dial. I mean, then I could do aperture and shutter speed independently, and I really think that's an oversight. As it is now, I've got 3 dials here for 1 thumb. That's asking a lot of anybody's thumb. So I've got this magnificent tree, tons of branches, thousands of leaves, but it is showing me one of the weaknesses of this camera, and that is the EVF. Now, first off, it's a 2.36 million dot EVF. That's actually par for the course. We've been complaining about that lower resolution on a lot of cameras lately. A lot of manufacturers seem to be going down to that. It's on par with the A7 III, the Panasonic S5, for example, so I'm not really knocking that. And the refresh rate's actually pretty good. When you go from the normal mode to the enhanced refresh rate, it jumps up to 120 frames per second, and you notice it. I mean, the lag kind of goes away, so I'm going to leave it there. My main issue, though, is just once I focus the camera, my image quality degrades quite a bit. I see a lot of weird color fringing around all the contrasted areas here. And you know, everything that I didn't like about the A6000's viewfinder, I don't like here either. I knew it was going to be small because of the smaller body, but you got to keep your eye perfectly centered through that EVF or else your corners go blurry. It's a very tight tunnel that you have, so that's kind of degrading the experience. And overall, it's just kind of one of the weak points for this camera for me. Now, I was concerned that with the A7C being a compact body and arguably more of an entry-level kind of price point, that it would be downscaled or, you know, be lacking a lot of nice features. And actually, it's got a beautiful design to it. I really do like this silver look. It is metal, it feels nice. I do also like the fact that the tripod screw down here doesn't interfere with the battery door in any way. On a lot of smaller compact bodies, that's always an issue. This camera is weather sealed, which is great. Here in the SD card slot, you can actually see a rubber seal all the way around the SD card slot. That's nice. In fact, all the doors on these ports feel good. They feel like they're well made and secure. There is only one SD card slot here, but it is a UHS 2 card slot, so it's going to be able to handle the 10 frame per second shooting speed and large buffer of this camera. And here, of course, the Z-type battery. Glad to see that, because in this small camera, we're getting a CIPA rating of 740 shots. I mean, that is SLR quality. So overall, this camera, very, very nice in its designs. So I want to point out first off that I'm shooting all my shots today on the kit lens that comes with this A7C. It's their new 28-60 f4 to 5.6. So everything's going to be shot at basically 5.6 or tighter. You're going to get a lot of ISOs. And you've already seen these results, because this is the exact same sensor that we have in the Sony A7 III. 24 megapixel full frame sensor. Basically the same as what a lot of other companies are using in their cameras in the same price point. So the image quality is known, it's ubiquitous, it's good, but you've seen it before. Now, Sony faced a unique challenge with the A7C, and that's trying to fit a full-frame sensor into such a small body while still having in-body image stabilization. And they've achieved that. We've got a 5-axis stabilizer in here, but it is a brand new design. It's not the same one from the larger A7 bodies, and that makes sense because we do have such a small package here. So we thought, well, we're really curious to see, does it compare well against the older bodies? And we did an impromptu test. I'm shooting 200 millimeters to really, push motion blur to its maximum, make stability an issue. And, in the test that I had here, I actually found them to be very much on par. I was very impressed by that. Okay, so I know we already did one video on the A7C, and I said I wasn't going to repeat myself, but I have to repeat this. The menu system. I really wish that this had the new menu system from the Sony A7S III, but unfortunately, the A7C has the older menu system. And for any new users coming to the Sony line, they are going to find this complicated and convoluted, just like we all did. And if you are coming from an older Sony into this system, yes, you will find it very familiar. Maybe that's a positive. As it is on this camera, the touchscreen interface only works for autofocus selection, like a lot of the older Sonys do. And honestly, it's got some lag. I'll touch a part, then wait for it to move over, and it's just slow. I'm just probably not going to use it. Now, one huge benefit to the A7C is the real-time tracking autofocus, and really this makes it the most affordable full frame to have that feature. Now, we've talked about Sony's real-time tracking autofocus before, and we do love it, I know, but it's because it works. It's just so easy to use, very effective and very reliable, and that's really what you're looking for out of an autofocusing camera. Now, Canon have also made some big strides in this regard, and they have very competitive autofocus as well, but to get something competitive, you are going to have to spend more money at something like the Canon EOS R6. So I would say that this is really the best autofocusing that you are going to find in a full-frame entry-level mirrorless camera right now. It does, however, make the A6600 look even less desirable, right? I mean, getting something that's a similar size, getting that same kind of awesome autofocus, and then getting a full frame sensor on top of that, that's what I think is going to be most compelling about this unit. Now, one thing that is lacking on the Sony A7C is options to choose your autofocusing point. What I mean by that is there's no joystick here on the back for autofocus selection. So I can use the control pad, move the box up, down, left, right, but that's slow and cumbersome. I can also use the touchscreen interface. It works, but as we've talked about already, it is slow and it lags a bit, which is strange. So we don't have a great way to choose autofocusing points. However, if there was an autofocusing system that didn't need autofocus point selection, this is it. I mean, the beauty of the real-time tracking autofocus is I put that center box on whatever I want it to follow, touch the shutter halfway, or use my autofocus on button, and it locks it and just holds it tenaciously. I can recompose, and it just works almost every time. If people's faces are in the scene, it will automatically prioritize them and focus on the eyes specifically if it can, and it does an amazing job there. So really, if there was a camera that didn't need good autofocus point selection, this is the camera that can get away with it.
All right, guys, Jordan here for Video Time. And you know what? The A7C is actually a really competent little vlog camera. And we've got a fully articulating screen on this now. We've got wonderful real-time autofocus tracking that'll stay stuck to me even if Chris is being irritating in the background. Now, my one real concern, Sony does have IBIS in their cameras, but it's never really been the finest and best system out there. However, if you were to drop this on an inexpensive gimbal, it could be pretty impressive. Okay, so this is perfect. Now we've got the A7C on a DJI Ronin SC, just a nice small light gimbal.
Which Chris is using, obviously holding.
Oh yeah, I guess I don't need to do that anymore. So this is where I think the camera's really going to sing, and they've done a lot of smart things for video shooters with this. I really like that they've now moved the mic jack so it's right on top of the LCD, but the headphone port is right on the bottom, so they're not going to interfere while you're shooting. Now this is Sony's same old video system they've been using for a while now. It's 8-bit 420 internally, 8-bit 422 if you kick it out to an external recorder. Now you do get full frame 4K 24, but there is a little bit of a crop when you go into 4K 30. It's not enough that it's really going to screw up your shot, but image quality will take a little bit of a hit there. The major thing that I was really concerned about with this new camera is it's a very small body that seems to have a lot packed into it. How is it going to handle overheating? So that's why I wanted to do some tests. So for my overheating test, I used my specially designed Mamaroo device. Now this keeps the image stabilizer and the autofocus working throughout the test. I shot this at 4K 24p, where it's using the entire sensor area. And there I was able to record over an hour and 45 minutes before the battery was about to die, and that was without the overheat light going on at all. Now, bear in mind, this was done in room temperature. Don't really have any options for hot days with direct sunlight in Alberta right now, but in a lot of controlled use cases, I don't think you're gonna have to worry about any kind of overheating with this. As well, there's no record limit, so you don't have to start and stop recording every half hour. This is a camera that's gonna be very useful for long form recording. So just like many of you, I am a little bit disappointed that we didn't see any major image quality improvements or some of the nice new 10-bit codecs from the A7S III in this camera. But you need to bear in mind, if you're looking for a small full-frame camera with great autofocus and image stabilization, there's not really many cameras on that list. So I do think this is going to find its way into a lot of event shooters and travel videographers' bags, and it's going to be a very capable camera there. It's also quite nice the price isn't totally unreasonable for what you're getting.
You know, today's whole video has turned into an allegory of the Sony a7C experience today. You know, you start out thinking, oh, this camera, you know, we already have the a7 III. This has got the same image quality. What's the point? It's even more money. But as you start to use it more, you start to realize there's some very cheerful things about this camera. Just like, you know, there's still light and joy and color in the world somewhere, like the beautiful Lougheed Garden. Okay, so I've cheered up throughout the day on this video, and a big part of that is the Sony a7C. I think the C stands for cheerful. We'll go with that. But you know, is this still the right camera for you to get? Well, I mean, if the displays here being weak are a problem, then you could maybe look at something like the Nikon Z6. That camera has awesome displays, great ergonomics, really nice handling body, and the autofocus performance is, although not quite as good as this, very solid. If you wanted better video features and a great handling camera, the Panasonic S5 might be a great option for you. However, it is physically quite a bit larger, and the autofocus, although improved, is still not up to this spec, not even close. So what about the Sony a7 III? What about that? Well, it is a little bit larger, not much. It handles very, very nicely. I like the interface better, but really for me, it comes down to the real-time tracking autofocus. I think that's still worthwhile to go for, even though this camera is a little bit more expensive. I do also want you to consider this. The Sony a7 III comes with the 2870 kit lens. Honestly, it's not great. Now this camera, although it's more expensive, comes with the 28-60 kit lens option. And although it's nothing to write home about as far as aperture speed goes, I actually found it very good, very optically well designed and sharp for this sensor. And it also keeps the compact nature of this camera intact. I think a lot of people might want to move up to this camera. You know, if you have an A7R IV, but you want a lower megapixel street camera that you can carry easily, this would be an awesome choice. If you had an A6000, for example, a lot of people have those. You've been using it for years now and you're ready to move to full frame, this could also be a fantastic way to go. Or if you're just new to the whole game and you want something that isn't bulky and large, something you can easily carry around in a bag or a pocket, again, this ticks a lot of those boxes and you're really going to enjoy the autofocus performance on it. I hope you guys enjoyed that review and it helps you decide whether this camera is right for you. Definitely please leave comments below and let us know what you think. Instagram and Twitter, subscribe to the videos please. Check out dpreview.com for this new camera. Thanks so much for joining us.